Hi there, freelance friends. Welcome back. Thank you for tuning in and joining me again today. Today, we're going to talk about how to decide on your next freelance business investment. I think that you can all relate to that feeling when you're sort of standing at the edge of a decision and you've got your calculator in one hand to calculate the costs and your business dreams in the other hand. I feel like that's exactly where I am right now. So for me, I've been eyeing this program called Kajabi for months. Every time I log into my current course platform, I think about what it would be like to have everything in one place, all my courses, my email list, my landing page, the whole deal. It would streamline so much for me, and I do believe it would free up some mental space. I also think that it would probably make me look more professional to my students because the platform is pretty smooth. But here's the thing. Adding another monthly expense always makes me pause, even when I know it's something that will benefit my business. Even when I can see how it aligns with my goals, I still find myself asking the hard question, will this actually give me a return on investment? And I think that pause, that reflection is actually healthy. So I figured that I would share with you how I'm thinking through this decision that I haven't made yet. Because if you're a freelancer like me, you've probably been in this exact spot more times than you can count. And if you haven't yet, you're likely to find yourself in this spot at some point. Now, what I've learned is that you absolutely have to keep investing in your business. The moment you stop putting money back in is the moment that you start falling behind. Obviously, technology changes and you have to keep up. Client expectations also evolve as things change. So when your competitors are upgrading, you have to make sure that you're keeping up because standing still isn't actually an option. But, and this is a big but, you can't invest yourself into financial hardship either. I have seen freelancers take on debt for shiny tools that they didn't need or sign up for software subscriptions that ate into their profit margins without delivering the results that they needed it to deliver that return on investment. So it wasn't really investing, it was just spending. I think that the sweet spot is somewhere in between, where you're making strategic, intentional investments that move you forward without breaking you. So I'll be honest with you about why I am probably fixating on this a little bit more than maybe I need to. When I owned my yoga studio, I put off a lot of investments. A big reason for that was fear, because what if it doesn't work out? But the other part was, what if I spend the money and I don't see the results? The budget constraints in that situation were very real too. I was watching every dollar, trying to keep my overhead low and protecting the small margins that I had. Now that I look back in retrospect, as they say, hindsight is always 20/20, that strategy wasn't 100% right. Sure, I kept the studio afloat by being conservative, but I also wonder if I would have grown faster if I'd invested in better systems from the start. If I'd upgraded the sound system, or if I brought in that marketing consultant to help me with social media ads when I first thought about it, rather than putting it off and waiting for another year. There were investments that I should have made that I think, again, in retrospect, would have paid for themselves many times over. I just couldn't see it at the time because I was too focused on protecting what I had rather than strategically building what I could grow into. That's why I'm trying to approach things differently this time around. I'm still being cautious. I don't think that ever goes away, especially for my Virgo personality. But I'm asking different questions now, not just can I afford this, but can I afford not to do this? Now, I'll share the tips that I am using to help myself decide in the hopes that maybe they'll help you. First is to start with the problem, not the solution. So before I get starry-eyed at Kajabi's features, I have to be honest about what's actually broken right now. Am I losing students because my current setup is clunky? Am I spending hours every week on tasks that could be better automated? And is my little patchwork system that I'm using now with different tools costing me more in time than the software could cost in money? Now, if I can't articulate the specific problem I'm solving, then I'm probably not ready to invest. You also have to calculate the real cost. It's not just the monthly subscription. What's the onboarding time to learn it? That's something I'm definitely considering because I'm not familiar with this platform. I know a lot of people who use it and love it, but I'm not sure how long it takes you to learn it. And will I need to hire someone to help me with my migration? Is there a learning curve that's going to slow me down for a month or months? Then on the flip side, what am I currently paying for tools that Kajabi could replace? What would it save me in time? So for me, I could potentially eliminate 2 or 3 other subscriptions, which makes the net cost a little more reasonable when I think about it within that lens. I find the next one especially helpful. It's advice that was given by a business coach that I work with, and it's that we should think incremental, not revolutionary. I really do feel like this is crucial because you don't need to transform your entire business overnight. In fact, you probably shouldn't. If you just look at what you're trying to do as one step in a longer journey, not necessarily the magic bullet that's going to solve everything, then maybe it will give you a clearer lens on the decision that you're trying to make. For instance, maybe I start with just moving my courses over and keep my email list where it was. Small upgrades do compound over time, and they're much less risky than betting the farm on one big change. In fact, I have learned to document all of the incremental changes that I make and notice that by the year end that they do turn into bigger transformations. The next one is to set a clear return on investment timeline. If you give yourself permission to make investments that don't pay off immediately, but give yourself an expectation of when you need to see results. So with Kajabi, I'm still thinking it through, but I'm thinking that if it helps me launch at least one additional course this year or increases my subscribe rate or improves my student retention enough to add a few more subscribers, then it should, fingers crossed, pay for itself. And obviously that's something that I can measure. It's accountable. Now, the next one is to check your cash flow, not just your bank balance. So this is where a lot of freelancers, including myself, get tripped up. Because sure, you may have money in the bank today, but what do the next 3 months look like? Are you in between projects, or is this your slow season? I only make bigger investments when I know that there's going to be money coming in to support it, not just because I happen to have it sitting there at this moment. Now, this one is also very important. You need to ask yourself, what happens if you don't invest? Because sometimes the cost of inaction is higher than the cost of action. If I stick with my current setup, will I miss opportunities? Will I burn out from doing everything manually? Will potential students choose someone else because I'm not using a tool that is so streamlined? Obviously, that's a cost too, even if it doesn't show up on my credit card statement. And this is the question that I wish that I'd asked myself more often at the yoga studio, because I think that I would have had the opportunity to have increased success now that I'm looking back on it in retrospect. Now, this mindset of investing should keep you growing. I personally like to think of business investments kind of like going to the gym. You need to show up consistently, but you don't need to lift the heaviest weight every single time. Some days you're making a major equipment purchase. Some days it's just a $20 book that shifts your perspective. And some days it's just time. You're investing hours in learning something new, but not necessarily investing any tangible dollars into it at that moment. I know that the freelancers that I admire most aren't the ones with the fanciest tools or the biggest budgets. They're the ones who are honest about making smart, strategic bets on themselves. They upgrade their skills and then they upgrade their systems bit by bit. I know that I watch several video podcasts on YouTube. I subscribe to different courses where the production quality may not be the highest, but I feel like the messages that the people have are very important. So it's really insignificant to me that they don't have the highest production quality. They're willing to spend money to make money, but they do it thoughtfully. So am I going to pull the trigger on Kajabi? I'm still thinking about it. I am going to look at my revenue projections this week, and I'm going to map out exactly what features I'm going to use and which ones are nice to have. I'm also going to try to do a little research to see how much time realistically it's really going to get me to get it up and running at this point. That's, I think, one of my bigger concerns is I don't want to invest in a tool that I'm not using right away. And after that, I am going to make the decision and give myself permission to either move forward or wait, because both can be the right answer depending on the timing. So what I know for sure is this: I'm not going to let fear alone stop me from an investment that could generally grow my business. I hope and believe that I have learned that lesson. But I'm also not going to let excitement push me into something I'm not ready for. And that's the dance. That's the decision-making process. And honestly, getting comfortable with this kind of thinking is probably the best investment for your business moving forward. So I'd love to hear, what about you? What business investment are you wrestling with right now? Please let me know in the comments. And if you found this helpful, please do like and subscribe. Take care. I hope you're all having a good week. Bye.